Welcome to Monday Motivations, 52 Weeks to a More Purposeful You. Corry Mendoza here, and I have a very special guest, Latisha Leppert. Did I say Leppert?
Leopard, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So Latisha Leppert, Latisha is my coach. I was looking for a coach a while back, about a year and a half ago, I think, and I had posted on, I'm part of a CTI, the Coaching Training Institute Facebook group. There's a couple thousand people on that group,
I think
right?
almost 8,000.
8,000, yeah. And but I had posted that I was looking for a female coach on the Pacific Coast, faith-based, blah blah blah. And you had reached out probably back in, I think, April or May, and it was an old post that you followed up on, and you had said, hey, if you're still looking, I fit that description. And I was like, I am always impressed when just people reach out, from my background is in real estate, and I loved expired listing prospecting, where you're going after homes that didn't sell. And anyways, I respected your communication, and what a great decision. We've been working together since May, and it has been absolutely fabulous. Lots of changes for me. So thank you.
Yeah, it's a big pleasure and an honor to walk with you in this.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being on the show. And for
Yeah.
those of you listening, our topic today is anchor thoughts. So Latisha, let me formally introduce you. I'm going to read your bio real quick. Latisha Leppert is a coach and creator. She started her personal growth and healing journey 18 years ago, and has turned into which has turned into an awareness and passion of how life can be when we are open to possibility, bravely choose, and are willing to do the inner work. And you definitely helped me do my inner work, let me tell you. She's passionate about helping women get out of their own way, navigate the messy middle places with confidence, and creating a supportive to thrive journey so they have a fulfilling and authentic life experience. Can you say a little bit about navigating the messy middle places with confidence?
Yeah, life comes at us so much. Like, I mean, especially the last few years with COVID and all of that. But life in general, there's so many pieces that just impact us in different ways. And we can have a goal or a dream or something like that. I mean, even just the act of going after something creates lots of inner things.
Yes.
And when you're dreaming, that's exciting. It feels new and fresh. But when you're in it, like say you're on the journey and things aren't as shiny, and it can really bring up, like, you run into your inner critic, you start self-sabotaging, or maybe there's external things that just wave after wave, you're just kind of meandering around feeling lost. I call that the messy middle place. It's like you're like, what is going on?
Yeah, no, I love that, because the messy middle place to me, and I'm probably going to steal that phrase and use it all the time now. I usually reference it as the belly of the beast, which I got kind of from Stephen Pressfield's The War of Art. But yeah, that messy middle place is where it seems to me that you're going for it and you don't realize all the obstacles, like what's going to come up. And sometimes it's like after we quit the job, or after we start the business, or after we take that initial risk, that it gets messy.
Yeah. I think that's the piece that sidetracks people. But if you know it and you expect it, and if you expect it, like if you knew like a tsunami was coming, it would be terrible. But you could prepare. Exactly. Even just the mindset, having anchor thoughts to know how to navigate that place. Yeah.
Well, tell us, what did you get out of this week's topic, anchor thoughts?
Yeah. I felt like it really resonated with me. I don't think it would be a mild understatement to say that I'm a bit obsessed with anchor thoughts because, like with the reading, it was clear thoughts lead to choice. Like when you're intentional and you have anchor thoughts, they can either keep you anchored in a place you don't want to be,
Mhm.
as that was in the reading, or you can choose something different. And with the reading, the focus was on what are you bringing in? What input are you allowing into your life? And just the awareness and the connection point to let that bring awareness to this, like if you're taking in a bunch of, I don't know, if you're watching horror flicks and
Yeah.
like the news and just like all the it if basically if you keep wave after wave after wave, and that's how you're inputting your mind,
Hmm.
that's keeping you anchored in that messy middle. The point is to navigate,
Yeah.
which is movement.
Hmm.
So that's really what stood out to me, was just an awareness of the input and what is your input.
Yeah. Let's step back just a little bit. How would you define for those listening
Yeah.
anchor thoughts? Like what is an anchor thought?
To me, an anchor thought is an intentional phrase or sentence or even just a word to put you in a place that you want to be. There's intentionality. Um, for me, sometimes it's something that I want to learn, something that I want to embody. Um, One of the ways that I bring anchor thoughts is on post-it notes, and this is an
No, I see
example.
your post-it note. Okay,
Yeah,
what does that one say?
give yourself permission to simply be. And I'm a high achiever, I'm a doer, I'm a go, go, go. So, like, for me to anchor me into a place of grounded stillness, that is an intentional thought that I can surround myself with to remind me. So, it's like an anchor thought is an intentional reminder.
Hmm. Hmm.
So,
Yeah, and one that's coming to me right now, and it's been an anchor thought for me all year long, is embrace limits.
mm,
And I just sent
mm,
a draft to my marketing gal. I'm going to read it to you, and then I'm going to come back to embrace limits. So I said, for my recovering optimists, our
mm,
toxic positivityists, if you will,
mm,
life is hard. If you don't face that, you will live in denial, a suffering much worse than suffering alone. Soak that
mm,
in. Life is hard, but don't stay there. Get on with it. Yes, and I will crush it. I will create from it. I will use it. Embrace it. Life is hard. It makes it easy. We can
mm.
see things as being hard and still be filled with hope and enthusiasm. And I think that I would put myself in the recovering optimist
Mm.
category.
Yeah.
Um, and embracing limits is has been something hard for me to do. Um,
Yeah.
there are no limits. Anything is possible.
Yeah.
I've kind of had that toxic positivity
Mm,
outlook. So
mm,
to for me, embrace limits, it's a grounding anchor thought that helps
mm.
me, like, okay, Corry, let's face reality. You can get back
Yeah.
to positivity in a moment, but first
Yeah.
let's kind of chew on this. So what do you
Mm.
think about anchor thoughts that might sound a little negative like that?
I think that that's empowering. I think that that is you bringing, if it was like on a keyboard on a piano, I think that's you playing the full range of the keyboard rather than just staying up high.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's a way to use anchor thoughts to expand your what you can be with and
Mm-hmm.
what you can accept.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What other things came up for you on this topic, or what'd you get out of it?
Yeah, I think on the topic of anchor thoughts, it's to me, thoughts, emotions, actions, those are all interconnected. And I think that our thoughts can, like, they give us the emotions, they give us the actions. Like, so I don't want to call it like it's not a complete formula,
Mhm.
but if you look at it like these three pieces are connected, and if you start experimenting with one piece or the other and just get really curious around, what am like if you have a lot of anxiety and like worry was mentioned in the reading, if you're really in that place of worry, if you get curious around what are your thoughts, that might inform how you're feeling. And so if you want to feel differently, shift your thoughts, you
Yeah.
know, and an anchor thought is a great way to help you shift your thoughts.
Mhm. This
Yeah.
really ties in with last week's episode.
Mm,
Um, our guest, he was talking about basically being honest with, well, what am I thinking
mm, yeah.
first? And that's kind of what we talked about in this week's reading, is getting curious
Mm,
about what am I feeling or what am I thinking, and then what do I want, and how
yeah.
to take it from there. And last week, Craig was mentioning about, don't just try to do like an affirmation that wipes out the negative thinking.
Yeah.
So, can you talk a little bit about that? Because in your coaching practice, you're constantly working with clients, and even the difficult ones like myself, where,
Mm.
we have very strong thinking patterns. So, how do you work with a client who might have some negative anchor thoughts to help them work
Mm.
through that and move forward?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's something that I've actually navigated in my own life first before I bring it to my coaching practice. Um, our brains will not accept like pie in the sky. My brain is especially resistant to the positive. So I can accept negative easier. Like that's just my default. So
Hmm.
for me to actually step into dreams, goals, possibilities, like from a positive perspective, there is a exercise that I found in my own personal growth journey called a thought ladder
Okay.
by
Oh,
Tanya Lee. And
okay.
so, and this is actually an exercise that I recommend to my clients if that's the work we're doing, if they're wanting to shift their mindset or a belief or something. So instead of, as you said, an affirmation or a mantra or something that feels like, let's say you want to lose 10 pounds. I don't
Mhm.
know, or even 50. Let's make it bigger because 10 pounds may not be that hard to accept. Let's say I want to lose 50 pounds. So, but you have no foundation. And so you see other people doing it, but that doesn't necessarily equate to your own habits in your own life. And that's another messy middle place. And so to develop the thought, I can lose 50 pounds with ease. Like that would be a mantra or something I would see somebody create like as an affirmation. And
Mhm.
your brain is looking around going, it's not easy. It's not, because it's so hard. And actually, as a side note, I personally find that almost feels like bypassing the challenge of the place you're at. There's something about honoring what's real and what's going on that empowers you, and it almost like a springboard towards what you want, towards that anchor thought, that goal.
Mhm.
So if you and the thought ladder, just really quick, is you have, so like what you would do is the anchor thought would be at the top of the ladder, and
Mhm.
at the bottom rung you would have where you are, and
Mhm.
you would just slowly work and create like thoughts that your brain accepts over time.
Mhm.
So if it was I lose 50 pounds with ease and you're here, it would be I'm stuck.
Yeah.
I'm stuck and have 50 pounds to lose. That would be more of where
Yeah.
you're at. But
I
then it
kind
would,
of drew this
yeah,
like a little
yeah,
ladder. And for those of you on the audio podcast, I'm sorry you can't see this. It's on YouTube. But yeah, so basically at the top of the ladder is to lose 50 pounds, and the
yeah,
the thought would be I lose 50 pounds with ease. So this bottom rung would be I'm stuck. And then maybe one rung up is one day I might not be stuck. And then
yes,
maybe one rung up is one day I believe I won't be stuck.
yes,
Then one up is one day I will be free.
yeah,
Then I'm losing 5 pounds. And yeah, and you
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, this is so good. This is so good. Yeah. And the other thing in the reading, it was, I specifically, when I wrote that, I was thinking of an anchor with a ship.
Yeah.
The waves are they can be so strong, and that ship could just be tossed to and fro.
Yeah.
But if that anchor is strong, no matter how much there's a storm and the waves go, that ship is going to stay where it's supposed to stay. Yeah.
It's a beautiful metaphor. Because what that says is if the waves and the tossing about is life, with your anchor thoughts, you can be grounded in what is most important to you and where you really want to go, regardless of what's happening.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of times we don't think about working on our thoughts. We don't think about our thoughts being anchors.
Yeah.
But our thoughts truly are anchors, and you and I have worked a lot with me being stuck and getting unstuck in different areas. And just what's today's, yeah, so just yesterday we had a coaching session, and we did a lot of work around me being stuck and unstuck in different areas. And I really, when I prepared for today's Monday motivation, I actually did the writing. I'm not going to show the readers because you don't need to know my crazy talk in here. But I did in the journal. I did some journaling, and I realized I had kind of taken my hand off the wheel in my anchor thoughts around a certain area. And what do our thoughts do if we are not intentional? They tend to drift with the storm, and they tend to become negative and fear-based. And so the one area that I was journaling on and working on, I'm like, wow, like, and how powerful our thoughts are always in our control. Our circumstance might not be, but the way we think about our circumstance is.
Yes. Yeah. And sometimes it may not seem like they can be in our control because they're racing so fast. But if you take time to slow them down and get curious to actually hear, I think you had mentioned that earlier, that's when it becomes control becomes possible.
Mm-hmm. So, for those listening, when, okay, how practically in the fast-paced world that we live in, many people, are working 40-plus-hour work weeks. You add a commute, you add a lunchtime, high-level leadership roles, the demands that you're getting pulled. So how do you recommend, or what are some ideas for let's just talk about you. How do you carve in time in your life to work on your thoughts, emotions, actions, your anchor thoughts?
Yeah.
But you do it perfect. I'm not trying to put you on that stool.
It's a good question because, I have lived and breathed this stuff, by necessity on my own personal journey. And it's been lately that I've been noticing some pieces that just aren't quite flowing and some bumps in my road, and things impact me more than I would expect. So to me, that's a sign that there is some work to be done. So I would say if there is, that could be one application. Where do you even begin? So if, like, say something happens, and normally I would just be able to flow with it. Like somebody does something is rude or something, and normally I would just be like, wow, they must be having a really rough day. But if I notice, like, I don't know, deep offense, or some really big strong emotional reaction that the event wouldn't normally bring, that's usually an indication that there's something inside me that needs some attention. There's something that needs recalibrated, realigned, or more grounded. And so I let that be kind of the guidance system for where to do the work, instead of I'm doing work broad brushstroke, because honestly, this can be really overwhelming, especially if you're not comfortable with thought work or emotions or any of this. And so like breaking it down and finding what works in the moment, I think that for me, and I don't let it have to be one thing. Like years ago when I first started, it was like, okay, this is my routine and I have to do this.
My morning time or my nighttime
Yes.
reflection,
Yes.
or I write
Yeah.
out my gratitudes before I leave the house, no matter what, so that I'm ready.
Yeah. And then you're so cranky because you did it. And it's like, what? So allowing flexibility has really helped.
Mhm,
Um, keep it simple. I
mhm,
keep it simple. I don't try to make it be one thing.
mhm.
I have a ton of tools.
Yeah.
I'm pretty nerdy in this area.
Me
I'm an
too.
expert on my emotions, and the results of that is I've read a lot of stuff, done a lot of courses, a lot of work. I have done the work, and I think that that's one of the things that helps me have compassion for others in asking them to do it because I know how hard it is.
Mm.
But it's so worth it. And I think just knowing that it's worth it, there's something about that as seeing it almost like a gift and a form of self-care rather than, oh my gosh, I got to deal with my emotions or something. Because if you don't, what happens?
Mhm.
Unanchored.
So I want to highlight what I hear you saying
Yeah.
to anchor it down, if you will.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
what I hear you saying is a strategy is simply awareness and noticing when we're cranky or how we're
Mm.
reacting. So your spending time is more around in the moment
Yes.
in
In
one
general.
way, in general.
Yes. One way. That's the
I hear,
initial.
yeah, and I hear you saying that yes, there are tactical and strategic things you can do, but don't get too rigid in those methods.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Don't feel like you have to journal just because journaling is a big thing.
Yeah.
I know plenty of verbal processors that they would flounder in journaling. So it's like know yourself and what works for you and let yourself do it there. Do the work there.
Yeah. It's also similar, like with meditating. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm gonna meditate, and so building I'm gonna build a meditation practice, and
Yeah.
then doing it right, and getting caught up in the different, and it's yeah, I'm
Yeah.
definitely okay. So now I want to segue into something you and I were talking about yesterday about white space
Mm,
and having,
yeah.
whites. I Googled that term, white space, and
Hmm.
I found a little clip. I think it was Warren Buffett, and he was just talking about it's nothing time.
Yeah.
It's not a to-do list time. It's not a, but it's nothing time to allow thoughts and creativity to come, and so I have been practicing a lot of, I didn't know it was called white space time,
Mm,
but I have been doing a lot of in between appointments. I'll go sit in my backyard and just listen to the birds, watch the
yeah.
trees blow, but just lots of the silence and and not constantly filling
Yeah.
myself. And then it's like in that nothing time, self-awareness will show me something that I've been thinking, or
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. That is part of the work. That is a way to do the work. It's not all about forcing it or, oh, I have to figure this out because something interesting that I've noticed in my own mind, I don't know how it would be for others, but it's usually when I'm doing something else, that's when the breakthrough or the revelation comes
Oh
over
yeah,
here.
in the shower, right?
Yeah, yes,
Or
yes,
on
exactly.
the, or the worst time is right before we go to bed.
Yeah.
We'll lay down and then
Mm,
um so as we start to kind of wrap this up, what are some, for anchor thoughts, what are some best practices that you want to remember from our time together, and just spending attention on this?
yeah. I think keep it simple would be the first one. Keep your anchor thoughts simple.
Mm,
Um, keep them powerful
mm,
and don't be afraid to do the work.
mm,
I think those are the three.
Keep them
And
simple. Go ahead.
yeah, I was going to say, don't be afraid to do the work and do it with curiosity and compassion. That would be an important caveat for me.
Keep them simple, keep them powerful, and do the work with curiosity and compassion.
Yes.
And the little bow that I would put on it would be to embrace that we will probably never arrive to the end destination that we think we want or need. And it's really not about doing the work to achieve or conquer or heal or mature to that next level. I think part of my anchor thought of embracing limits is also embracing that I will never arrive.
Yeah.
So enjoy the arriving state I'm in right now. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I have arrived here.
Yeah.
I still want to go there.
Yeah. Yeah. That's powerful. That's one of my focuses is on the thriving journey. It's not about the destination. Yeah, I hope we can get there, but life is lived in the journey. And that's a
The messy
beautiful.
middle places.
It is. Yeah. Yeah.
So for those of you that want to work with Latisha, explore coaching, you do business coaching, life coaching.
Yeah.
I definitely recommend Latisha for anyone that's really wanting a safe, gracious, and abundant space to look in the mirror and tackle big and little barriers at a courageous pace that's realistic. You work very well with overachievers, drivers, perfectionists. So I can't recommend you highly enough. And do you have an Instagram?
Yeah. I have a website,
Yeah,
LatishaLeppert.com. Yeah.
LatishaLeppert.com, and we'll put the correct spelling in the description.
Yeah.
But I just want to thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great. And thank you everyone for listening to Anchor Thoughts with Corry Mendoza and Latisha Leppert. So we'll see you next week. Thank you.